Hello everyone, welcome to Umbrella's channel. Today I'm going to be going over, normally we would go over Resident Evil topic in that, but today I like to go over a topic about one of my most favourite, and if not most legendary, Nintendo consoles I've ever played in my entire life, and I really wish that Nintendo would give it a second chance. This was my very first console I ever got. I don't know if you consider it to be a console. Now, in 2012, I think in 2009, when I was still living in my old house, my mom bought me a small device with two screens on it, and it was red. And eventually I broke it, but I soon discovered later on this device was called a DS, and this later on would become one of my most favorite Nintendo consoles. And I hate the fact that they've now replaced it with the Nintendo Switch. Don't get me wrong, the Nintendo Switch is really good, but the problem is it doesn't have the same magic as a DS. And here's why. I think the DS should come back. Now, obviously, the DS is still alive. It's not dead. Some people still like it, but most people's eyes are close to the Nintendo Switch than they were on the DS. The DS was one, as I said, the DS is one of my favorite Nintendo consoles, and I really wish that they stopped making. I really wish they didn't stop making them, because the DS was legendary, and my only favorite decent game on it was Yokai Watch 2, Psychic Spectres, Yokai Watch 1, Yokai Watch Bony Spirits 2. Well, I don't know why there was actually 3 Yokai Watch games. There's no difference to it. Kind of no differences to it. Well, Psychic Spectres was actually the bestest one because it had a bit of more differences to the sequel. I recommend buying the DS or Yokai Watch 2 Psychic Spectres, and you'll just see how glorious that game was. And I have to say, it was nearly more fun than Pokemon. Now, I played Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I really kind of sort of did or didn't like the Pokemon game. Now, it was really good, but not as nearly as good as Yokai Watch 3 and Yokai Watch Psychic Spectres. You know, it was really the bestest game ever. And it doesn't matter if you're playing on a 2DS or a 3DS. The graphics will look a bit different, though. The graphics will be looking 2D. And some people will have a bit of a question that. But I didn't give a shit about the graphics. I didn't give a flying fuck. I didn't give a monkey's ass. I really didn't. I still had entertainment towards it, and it was really fun. Of course, I did end up smashing it again and again, and another one went again and again. But this year, I'll be getting a new one again. It's been a year since I've had one. I might make a video on it. Now, some people don't like the DS and prefer the Nintendo Switch. I understand, you know, the Nintendo Switch has got some things that the DS had, but not as nearly as great as the DS. Now, admittingly, there are some things on the DS that I don't like. For example, the amiibo characters, or whatever they're called, the Wii characters. Now, I don't understand that. The little characters that reappear in the Nintendo Switch is just basically a remake to the DS, except the only difference, they didn't include one of my favourite apps, the Photo app. Now, the Photo app is one of the DS's special apps, and it's really good. On the Photo app, it's like, well, think of it as if you've played the 2DS or the 3DS and you've played this app, you'll know what I'm talking about. But for those who don't know what I'm talking about, let me try and explain it so you can kind of imagine it. On the 2DS or 3DS, it's on a 3 or 2DS, not the original DS. The original DS was actually kind of shit. You'd probably have more fun with it if you were living in the 90s. But moving on, the Photo app. When you took a picture of something, you could draw on it, and when you saved it, and then if you saved it, it would be saved, obviously, yeah. And if you go into that photo again, you could draw on it again, but when you rubbed it out, the things that you drawed on it before won't rub out. Look, buy a DS and you know what I'm talking about. And that's what's so great about the DS. The Nintendo Switch, however, on the other hand, is shit. Now, I'm sorry I'm saying this, but it didn't include the Photo app. And I don't understand why. The Photo app is what made the DS far superior. Admittingly, it's just a small device. And it can't do the things a Nintendo Switch can do, such as a Nintendo Switch just plugs into the screen, which is very good indeed. But the problem is, it doesn't have the photo app. That's my complaint. It does not have the photo app, and I don't know why. That's so stupid. Seriously, I'm really pissed off that Nintendo didn't put that in. Why would they ever do that? Why would they get rid of the photo app? You could draw on that app. You could draw colors. You could draw anything. It saved you actually buying a piece of paper in real life. It's actually even better. Look, the downsides are the downsides are still watch the water on the DS, and don't draw on a pencil because you have something called a stylus. Again, that was one of the most interesting things as well. And yet they replaced it with a Subway foot-long device. Seriously. Unfucking believable. Now, I've played the Nintendo Switch, and I must say some of my opinions are okay. It's okay, as I said. I don't know why. I'm just getting all angry about it, the fact that people consider the Nintendo Switch to be far superior. And I don't see a seeable future for DS if that's how they're going to do that. The same thing with Lego. Now, I liked Lego only because they made something called Bionicles, but they kind of ruined the Bionicles by making a Bionicle series, and I never seen it, and I kind of find that a bit shit. And, if there's some people that still like the Bionicle series, I understand that, but I mostly just wanted to buy the Bionicle toys, and they were really good. And then, what does Lego do? Lego does the most stupidest thing you can think of. There's one of the most stupidest mistakes ever to be made in history, in the stock market history. Well, I don't know if that's like a lot of words there. And they get rid of Bionicles, and they said, I quote, a seeable future. I don't see how that's fucking seeable. I honestly don't see how that's really seeable. I should have put out at first I will be using some bad language in this video, but it's already too late. Now, I won't be swearing that much, but this just annoys me. Some companies make the most silliest mistakes, and it costs their games. For example, some people didn't like Resident Evil 8 Village because it didn't have the same stuff as the original trilogy. The original trilogy pulled it off again and again and again, well, until it reached Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 4 was way more better than Resident Evil 5. I like to play the Neo games. I like to play a Neo game, a new game. Play more sequels of it. Again though, I just really wish Nintendo never done that, never got rid of the DS. Because, the DS, there was a couple of differences with the DS and the Switch, but the Switch and the DS had a similarity. One, they would be carried in a special case. I even still have the charger for it. And now they're just getting rid of them. Now, admittingly, the DSs are still in this world. They're not wiped out or anything. And this time, if I ever get another DS this time, I promise, I swear on my life, I will never break it again. Because that will be my last one. I know for a fact. Because my mom will not buy me another one. I know for a fact. So if I ever get a DS, I need to take really, really good care of it. And not lose my temper towards it. Besides, it really also improved my art skills as well. My drawing skills have improved. I will have a video where it shows some drawing skills of Resident Evil characters. I did actually have papers of me drawing. There was papers of me drawing Resident Evil characters on it, but I don't know what the hell they are. I've replaced them with some other ones, but I don't think they're nearly as good as those ones I drawed. I plan to become an illustrator when I'm older as well. So that DS also helped me in my art skills. What did the Nintendo Switch help me with? Hee-haw. It helped me with nothing. As I said before, there are games you can get on the Nintendo Switch now, and people are just going to say that, well, Yokai Watch 4, you can get that on the Nintendo Switch. So Yokai Watch isn't nearly as dead. It kind of is dead, but it's not dead to me. No fucking way. I don't give a shit how old it is. People There are people out there that still... Some people want a Game Boy. They want to play a Game Boy, and they don't care how shit it is or what people think about it. That's how I feel. I want to play a DS. I want to replay the 2DS or the 3DS one last time. I want to be given one more chance on it. But when Nintendo says no, that's what they mean. That's what they mean. They mean it. They mean no. Absolutely no. So I don't know why they ever said no to the DS and stopped manufacturing them. Was there ever a seeable future? It kind of was when you unleashed the DS, the Nintendo Switch to the world, or the NS. Probably want to call it the NS. The Nintendo Switch to the world. Minds were bursting, and people started getting rid of selling their DSs for Nintendo Switches. Well, you couldn't. Well, that wouldn't be possible because you need more money for those things. But I do think that a DS is far better. Now, admittingly, it doesn't have apps like YouTube or anything like that, so that's really boring to all of you. You're obviously gonna just say, "Well, if there's no YouTube, I'm not playing the game." But I don't care, because when I was playing Yokai Watch game, I loved it. It was actually the very first Japanese game I've ever played in my entire life. I got the prequel for my Christmas in 2016, and I enjoyed it. I completed the story mode of it, and eventually I discovered there was a sequel for the game that came out in 2017 called Yokai Watch Bony Spirits, and then Psychic Spectres came out. But I should point out that in the game, if you play Bony Spirits, you can only join the side of the Bony Spirits, which it's basically a renegade faction, a civil war going on in the game, where two factions of yokais have split up into teams, where the Bony Spirits is the spider-like guy, and then there's the toad-like guy, or toad woman, I don't know what the hell that is. So she's part of the Fleshy Souls, and that other guy is part of the Bony Spirits. And in Psychic Spectres, you can choose any side, but if you're playing Fleshy Souls, you can only choose the Fleshy Souls side. And I still enjoyed the game, but then Psychic Spectres was far better. And I've still got Bony Spirits, actually. That's the only Yokai Watch game I've ever kept. My mom got rid of the third game for some reason, which really annoyed me. But I still enjoyed the DS, and I really want it back again. I would really want to get it back again. Come on, guys. Now you guys will have your opinions, obviously, and I will respect them. So your opinions will obviously... Some of you might say that Nintendo Switch has proven a far superiority than a DS. But some of you will actually, some of you might actually point out, Umbrella's got a point. The Nintendo Switch does not have the photo app. Because for those who have played the 2DS and have seen the photo app, you will understand what I mean. And they will point out... Some of you might not point out, or some of you might. It's pretty obvious that you will. Some of you could do that. You could say that Umbrella's got a point. There was a photo app that you could do that, and then the person who used to play the 2DS would then say, one of you could say then, I have a Nintendo Switch, but that doesn't have the photo app, does it? No, it fucking doesn't. No, it doesn't. It does not have the photo app. It doesn't have the photo app at all. Now, I wouldn't have to go all the way to the trouble. I wish that Nintendo's... Now, the best thing Nintendo could probably do is put the photo app on... Could put the photo app on the Nintendo Switch, and along with a stylus, and put Yokai Watch on the Nintendo Switch, Yokai Watch 3 and 2. Or if it doesn't work out, you could just play the third game. They released a fourth game, but some people don't like the fourth game. There's even now. I'll explain what I'm going to say. I'll talk about it next time. So I'll talk about Yokai Watch in another separate video, as this is just pointing out the greatest thing about the 2DS, the 3DS. And tell me some of your opinions. Leave it in the comments below. Some of you leave it in the comments below. You obviously have your opinion. Some of you might not like this criticism of the Nintendo Switch. I understand, but I should point out this channel is there will be some parts of criticism in the channel. Next time I'll be going over the Yokai Watch game, what's so good about it. Now obviously my editing skills aren't so good, so I can't show you some footage of the game. I wish I could do that thing with the YouTubers would normally do, show the footage of the game. But unfortunately I don't know how to do that. I think it's probably have to use a green screen or something. You have to use a green screen to do that. But type it up, Yokai Watch gameplay, and you understand where I'm coming from. You don't need to if you don't want to. It's up to you. But I'm just saying that Yokai Watch is one of the greatest games I've ever played, and so is the DS. And I really wish they could make more of them again, manufacture those things, get them out of the factory, start making them and get them out of the factories, and start transporting those little shits all over the world again. I really wish Nintendo gives the 3DS and the 2DS a chance, rather than replace it with a miniaturized television. No offense for anyone who plays a Nintendo Switch. I'm just saying, you know, I just really wish they, because when I played the DS and I noticed there was no photo app at all. Now, admittedly, I might have not looked properly and there could have been one, but if there was, I don't think it would have the same stuff as the DS would do, because you couldn't take pictures on a DS. You could only screen record it, screenshot it, which the DS could turn into a camera as well. That's the greatest thing about it as well. It could turn into a camera, and you could draw in that picture. I wish the same thing could be done for the phones. Especially now, some of you are now. I'm with most of those people that would say, why the fuck have the people that make these phones, Samsung phones, given us a 2012 upgraded version of a phone? A 2012 or 2006 phone is easy to break. You could just snap it. But that's the greatest thing about a 2DS and a 3DS. You can't snap it. You can't snap it at all. Now, I'm going to tell you this, how I destroyed my last DS. How I did that was via the use of my bare foot. I don't know how I managed to do it with my bare foot. I don't know how I did that. It didn't make sense to me. Now, I don't know how I managed it. My feet must have been that strong. But, as I said, what are your opinions on this? And do you think the Nintendo Switch is better? Or, for those who have played the DS, think the DS, they should bring back the DS, but not remade? Because, let's face it, I would love the Nintendo Switch. I would love the Nintendo Switch more than ever in my entire life if they ever put in a photo app on it. But they probably never will, because they're too busy putting on other games that we've already played that are better on other consoles. You know? So, next time I'll be going over the Yokai Watch game, and as I said, pull up some footage because I can't do those editing tricks. I really need to find someone that can help me out with that. And that's it, guys. That's it. That's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, leave a like, share with some friends. If you didn't like the video, dislike, subscribe to the channel. There are some latest. I'll be posting every day. There are some latest videos of me. Some questions that might be asked by you, like how did Albert Wesker die, or who is Chris Redfield, and why did Leon join the government? So yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you again soon. Bye.